Hello! I'm only partially late today. Only 10 minutes, that's better than last week, right? Was last week the one where I was half an hour late? I don't remember. I think it was. Anyway, hi, I'm not sick anymore. Um, yeah, welcome to the stream. We're gonna play more Ace Attorney today. I've been wanting to do another drawing stream, but I thought like Saturdays I have to draw anyway because I need to do my comic strip. So I figured it's not the greatest idea to do a drawing stream on Saturday and then do more drawing afterwards and just like destroy my hand. So maybe tomorrow we'll do a drawing stream. I don't know. Yeah. I don't think I really... Oh. I can advertise this here, I guess. For folks who are watching this in post, on YouTube or whatever. I am... Where is it? Where did I save it? I am trying to host a game show. I've mentioned it previously. I'm kind of looking for people who don't know much about the Ace Attorney series, so this is not the right place to advertise. I'll probably advertise again in tomorrow's stream. But I would like to try and find people who don't know much about Ace Attorney who want to try and guess questions related to Ace Attorney characters. Because fun. So far I have one person who's interested and she has already played through 2 Ace Attorney games and is currently playing through the 3rd. So she's probably not the best candidate, but I'll take what I can get. But yeah, if you would like to participate, I'll have to retweet the tweet on my Twitter again, but basically just hit me up, let me know. Hit me up on Twitter. Or X if you prefer. I don't prefer. But yeah, the problem is most of my VTuber friends at least have a passing knowledge of Ace Attorney. So it's difficult to like hype this up because I don't have anything to show for it yet. All I can show is like, hey, I want to do an Ace Attorney quiz. So I kind of need... I'm kind of trying to think of another quiz topic that I can do besides Ace Attorney that I can then like get my friends on who don't know about it. And then maybe I can use that as a jumping off point to then go like, hey, did this look fun to you? Do you want to participate in one where you guess Ace Attorney instead? But that was what I was working on Sunday last week because I was sick and couldn't really stream. Anyway, let's get into the game, shall we? We've wasted enough time. Oh look, it's all dark. Let me move my controller. Oh, and then I need to turn the volume up again, because this game's always so quiet in my ears. Alright, so last time, Gregson was dead. And Van Zeeks was... I selected no, I'm dumb. So Gregson's dead. Van Zeeks is in prison. And we don't know what's going on. So let me just have a look around. Okay, so we alright, we have to go see Lord Chief Justice. Because he did some analysis or something. Oh, it's all interesting that we're not just like seeing the scene already. You've made good time. Oh, I took an express train back to London. Whomst? I can hear Lord Strongheart. Can you? Yes, it sounds as though he's talking to someone. Oh, it's Kazuma. Okay. Is everything in place? I had a private compartment on the train so I could check all the paperwork. I knew it! He's gonna be the prosecutor. It's... Kazuma-sama! Ah, your timing is impeccable. It is? No doubt you have heard the sickening news about the Reaper's latest devilry. Yes. I'm sure you don't believe it, of course, though, Lord Strongheart. That Lord Van Zeeks could have done such a thing to Inspector Gregson? I believe only in the facts. And the facts in this case point to one thing. The unavoidable accusal of Lord Van Zeeks for this crime. We must bring charges against the Reaper for taking the life of our legendary detective. Oh no, surely not. It's a truly regrettable situation. Tomorrow the Forensic Science Symposium finally begins. At the very least, though, we can show the world our justice system's swift and equitable processes. So does that mean the trial is tomorrow? Precisely. I can't hear the word precisely just said by itself like that without thinking of that fucking bootleg Ratatouille movie. Because there's one character in it that just goes, precisely! All the fucking time. Oh, I've got my work mouse still on my desk. Why didn't I put that away in my bag? There we go. Now I only have one mouse. In fact, this is a fine opportunity for introductions. Quote-unquote introductions. We very much already know him. Kazuma. Ah, but of course, you're already acquainted, aren't you? Mr. Asagi here will be present at tomorrow's proceedings, leading the prosecution. Wait. What? Kazuma? As I'm sure you're aware, he's a very capable practitioner of law. Kazuma-sama, a prosecutor? He's just standing there behind him. Well, let's find out what's going on. I'm sure you can imagine that tomorrow's trial will be closely followed all over London. In fact, no. People all over the Empire will be watching closely to see how it unfolds. There's no salvation for anyone in a trial prosecuted by the Reaper of the Bailey. And now, the Reaper himself must stand in the dock. Quite so. The public wants answers about the Reaper. Answers about how and why those who escaped the conviction subsequently died mysterious deaths. But Lord Van Zeeks firmly denies any involvement in such matters. And there have been thorough investigations that have proved him to be innocent. That's certainly true. Or it has been, at least, until now. No, tomorrow's trial will mark the start of a new chapter in our country's great judicial system. Okay. So, Kazuma will be prosecuting tomorrow? That's right. But he's a defense lawyer, Lord Strongheart. Accomplished young law practitioners cannot pick and choose their roles. And imagine what it will mean for the prosecution to know the strategies commonly employed by the defense. A devastating combination, wouldn't you agree? Absolutely. I've no doubt at all that Kazuma will be razor sharp as a prosecutor. But why Kazuma-sama? There are surely many other highly skilled prosecutors in Great Britain. It was a personal request. I asked to be assigned to the trial. You asked for this? But why? It'll all become clear tomorrow. I'm guessing you intend to stand for the defense, don't you? Although, the Reaper appears to be turning down all offers of representation. I'm surprised such a personal request would have been upheld. It seems unprecedented. Quite exceptional, in fact. You are quite right, Miss Mikotoba. Wait a second. Didn't he just say, like, young law practitioners can't pick and choose their roles? And then Kazuma just comes in like, oh yeah, I requested it and he let me do it. So he very much picked and chose his role. Tomorrow's trial will be unprecedented and exceptional in every way. After all, the accused is one of Britain's greatest prosecutors, the pride of the Empire. It would be unwise to give the public a reason to perceive it as the judiciary closing ranks. So that's why you're happy to let a foreigner handle the prosecution? Ryunosuke, let's see how your skills have been honed. After practicing law in this country for so many months. Bro's got 2 swords now. Kazuma, I don't understand why you're being so hostile to me now. This isn't going to end well, my friend. Well then. Oh yes, we noticed there was a gun at the scene of Inspector Gregson's death. Do you know if it belongs to Lord Van Zieks? That would be a question for the lead detective investigating the scene. Well, the thing is, she wasn't sure, so she told me I should ask somebody higher up who might know. That's right, Mr. Naruhodo. Be direct. It's certainly a model that that's issued to all personnel involved in law enforcement, yes. Which includes prosecutors, as I'm sure you can imagine. In that case, it could actually have belonged to the victim. No. Gregson had his gun on his person. What about Lord Van Zieks? He claims it currently not in his possession. What? According to his story, he lost it. In short, it's more than a little suspicious. That is incredibly suspicious. Why did my heckin' phone went to sleep while I was busy trying to monitor my stream? What the hell? Anyway. But just because the gun in question is the same type as the defendant's, it's no proof that it's actually his.
No, of course not.
Nevertheless, the situation is grave for Lord Van Zieks. Do I have anything to present, maybe? Maybe this? Can I show you this, Lord Strongheart?
I'm the Lord Chief Justice. I'm not here to offer advice about evidence.
Oh.
Especially when the evidence in question is so dull.
Ah, so that's the real reason. Okay. I'm just going to try a couple other things before I move on, I guess. But I'm not going to read it out a second time. What about this? Nope. Okay. Can I speak to Kazuma if I do this?
I'm sorry for all the worry I've caused you, but it'll be all right now.
Has your memory completely returned?
Yes, completely. I remember everything, including what I was coming here to do.
Right.
Kazuma-sama, I can't tell you how happy I am to see you alive and well like this. But how did you come to be here in London when you were suffering from amnesia? It was the voice. This past year, I've been hearing it in my head constantly, saying the same thing over and over. Go to London. That's where your destiny awaits. It was that voice that guided me here to London. I'm sorry for what's happened. Anyway, my memory might have returned to me, but there's something that won't return to the way it was before. Huh? What do you mean? I'm a prosecutor now, so I'm sure our paths will cross again very soon.
Okay, that's the end of it. Cool. So I didn't have to present anything. I just needed to speak about everything, then speak to Kazuma. And this time we actually get a solid, like, yep, there's nothing left to do here. We don't just have to wander off. It doesn't look like we're going to glean much more here. Well, thank you very much, Lord Strongheart.
Remember, tomorrow's trial will go down in our Empire's history. There's much you can learn from the public gallery.
Okay. Sorry to have taken up so much of your time. We'll see ourselves out.
Hold it.
Oh.
Before you go, Ryunosuke,
Oh, what is it, Kazuma?
I just wanted to thank you.
Kazuma-sama, what?
You took my determination to heart and brought it with you over the ocean in my stead. And you carried out my role to perfection.
You always were intent on studying British law in order to change our own justice system. It was your dream, and Mr. Naruhodo didn't want that to die with you.
Yes, but I had another purpose for coming here.
Oh?
I actually have a favor to ask.
Which is?
This trial I'll be prosecuting tomorrow. I'd like you to be there to see how it ends. Right in front of me, as the defense counsel.
Why? What's this all about? I mean, we're planning on doing that anyway, but,
I know you have what it takes.
But Lord Van Zeeks would never put his fate in my hands.
On the contrary, he recognizes your talent.
He does?
It's not easy to see behind the facade sometimes. Here, have a look at this.
That's Lord Van Zeeks and Inspector Gregson. In a photograph that must have been taken some time ago by the look of it. By the looks of it, when his older brother was still alive. And who's the third person? It's probably Clint Van Zeeks.
It was displayed very prominently in the detective's office.
In Gregson's office, you mean?
Yes. What I'm trying to say is, if you really think you can trust the Reaper, you might find that some straight talking makes him take a different view. Take it.
Gregson's photograph.
I don't understand. Why are you giving me this? Just hurry, Ryunosuke. Visiting hours at the prison are almost over.
I'm like dancing around what his accent should be. Like, I'm trying to make... Like, all the Japanese characters have been getting Australian accents just because I don't think I can do a proper Japanese accent. But I wanted him to sound, like, more proper and, like, almost posh than Ryunosuke. But it's just turning him British, because a posh Australian accent is just a British accent.
What are you doing, Kazuma?
Well, off to the prison we go, I guess. Oh, is my tea cool enough to drink yet? I think it is. Because like the Japanese say, drink it while it's hot.
Lord Van Zeeks is still reading that letter. We've been gone quite some time, though. Either he's an incredibly slow reader, or it's an incredibly long letter. I might even be able to read English faster than he can.
I was intending to ignore you entirely. But I can't turn a deaf ear to such an insulting Nipponese.
Oh, sorry. I didn't think you'd hear that.
I had the case notes brought to me in secret. I was reading them to pass the time.
Yes, we heard that your trial is set for tomorrow.
Which is none of your business.
So, have you found a lawyer?
How many times must I reiterate the same thing? This is nothing to do with you.
In other words, no. We were just talking to Lord Strongheart, and the prosecutor for your trial has been decided.
I'd expect nothing less, though I have no idea who it is.
It's going to be Kazuma Asugi. Is it? No, it's... Here's the thing, when it comes to Japanese names, I don't know where the emphasis should lie, unless I hear it said out loud. But then I, forget what they said out loud, because I'm pretty sure they said Asogi, but I've been pronouncing it Asugi. So, it's going to be Kazuma Asogi.
Asogi!
That made the color drain from his face. Not that he had much to begin with.
Well then. It seems I'm going to have to engage in conversation with you again after all. "10 years ago, my older brother was the director of prosecutions at the time. Who was the director of prosecutions at the time, was murdered. And the killer, as you know, was a visiting student from the Far East. Not a single day goes by when I don't curse the name Asogi.
Genshin Asogi was Kazuma-sama's father.
What cruel twist of fate is this now, 10 years later? The man's son is to crucify me in some kangaroo court?
I still don't understand why Lord Strongheart apprenticed Kazuma to you.
It's what he does. No doubt he knew of the young man's true identity from the outset.
But what could he have been hoping to achieve? And let's not forget, it was only 8 days ago that Kazuma recovered from his amnesia. Why would Lord Strongheart assign this trial to someone like that?
Asogi.
I did it again. Asugi instead of Asogi.
That name is the very epitome of my bane.
I almost said epitome.
The bane that is you Nipponese.
Right, your hatred of all us Japanese. The Nipponese bane.
I'd only just been appointed as a prosecutor when it happened 10 years ago. My brother, Clint, the director of prosecutions, was hunting down a mass murderer.
The so-called professor.
Assigned to the investigation as his partner was a certain visiting student dispatched from Scotland Yard.
And that was Genshin Asogi? Yeah, Asogi?
Exactly. I developed a deep respect for the man. He seemed noble-minded and chivalrous in the extreme to me. But none of us saw the true nature of the man. So I lost everything when it happened. My esteemed brother, the people I believed in, any semblance of right prevailing over wrong.
Oh, how awful.
To avenge my brother, I prosecuted in Asogi's trial. It wouldn't ordinarily have been allowed, but I beleaguered the ascribed prosecutor until he consented.
What do you mean by the ascribed prosecutor?
The man in charge of the Professor Case inquiry, Lord Mael Strongheart.
What? Wait, what? Lord Strongheart?
He was a highly accomplished prosecutor, but he agreed to relinquish the trial to me and act as my advisor instead. Since that time, he's the one person to whom I have felt indebted.
I'm sure he must have seen your zeal for the case and recognized your potential as a prosecutor.
Anyway, time passed, but then earlier this year, who should arrive in London but you?
Ah.
And of all things, as a lawyer.
I felt your animosity the first time I ever faced you in the courtroom. You know, I'm starting to wonder if maybe I'm sabotaging myself by trying to do these voice acting heavy streams so early in the day. So soon after getting out of bed before my voices really had time to wake up. Your obvious deep loathing of us Japanese.
I kept telling myself it was illogical. But for so many years, that hatred had festered inside me. I could no longer control it.
And I can understand why. Now I know the history.
But in the same way that I've long felt the Nipponese to be the bane of my life, to Kazuma Asogi, I am the bane of his. The Reaper who sent his father to the gallows. He's looking for revenge, and he intends to take it in court tomorrow.
Perhaps. We don't know. We don't know why he requested to be the prosecutor.
Gregson's transfer to the Paris police prefecture had finally been arranged for the coming month. But he'll never make it to France now. It's a tragedy.
Oh, yes, come to think of it, he did mention something about that, didn't he? I wonder, does it happen often? Being transferred internationally, I mean.
It's the first time I've ever encountered it.
Oh.
The Paris police welcoming an English detective is almost inconceivable. I can't imagine what kind of magic Gregson must have worked to put that arrangement in place.
Sounds like that mystery has even the Reaper perplexed. I'm afraid to say that we were very ignorant about Inspector Gregson's standing. We hear that he was considered something of a legend at Scotland Yard. Oh, is that Gregson's theme?
Again, it was 10 years ago that he first made a name for himself by uncovering a decisive piece of evidence that exposed the professor's identity. If it wasn't for Gregson's singular approach to the case, the discovery would never have been made.
What sort of approach?
After my brother's life was taken, the inspector pushed for a full autopsy.
Oh my, 10 years ago? Why is that so surprising?
Autopsy was considered a desecration of the body at the time, and rarely performed. And my brother was of course a noble. That made the idea of it even more unthinkable. But something Gregson had dug up in his investigations made him determined, and it was necessary. His powerful conviction somehow influenced the House of Lords, and as a result, I could avenge my brother's death.
So you must have had great confidence in the inspector's abilities then. And it's even more inconceivable that you would have taken his life.
I don't have confidence in anyone.
Oh.
And I'm sure Gregson felt the same way. I've no doubt he thought of me as only the ominous Reaper, just like the rest of London.
What really went on between Lord Van Zieks and Gregson, I wonder? I think maybe Lord Van Zieks did feel that way, but Gregson certainly didn't, because we have the photo. What was the true nature of their relationship? We'll present the photo after we talk about this part. About the gun used to shoot the inspector that was found at the scene.
Ah yes, that's not mine.
Really? Because common opinion seems to be that it is.
What do you expect me... What do you expect me to say to that?
Lord Strongheart informs us that you claim to have misplaced your firearm.
As embarrassing as that is, I'm afraid it's true.
When did you lose it then? Oh, that was Ryunosuke.
That I don't know.
Oh.
I was issued with a revolver when I first became a prosecutor 10 years ago. I must have stowed it somewhere, I suppose. Or left it somewhere, perhaps.
Are you usually that careless with your firearms? You have something in common with Lord Van Zieks after all, Mr. Naruhodo. A talent for misplacing things. No, this has nothing to do with me. Don't drag me into it.
Don't make the mistake of associating me with this Nipponese.
Oh dear. The rift is very wide, isn't it? So it's not decisive evidence, clearly. But it doesn't look good, that's for sure.
Indeed.
Anyway, let's present that photo. Lord Van Zieks, we came by this old photograph.
Where did you get that?
I have finished my tea.
It was taken when I became a qualified prosecutor. It's almost unbelievable. I assumed it was long lost.
Is the man on the left there?
Yes, that's my brother, Clint.
It had to be, really. What is going on outside? Apparently, this picture was prominently displayed in Gregson's office. He had a deep respect for you, you know. Were you aware of that?
Respect? That's nonsense.
No, we've heard someone attest to it very clearly. Inspector Gino Lestrade, no less.
Well, maybe once, yes. There was a time things were like that. We were brothers in arms, jovially discussing the future of justice and other such lofty subject matter. It was a nice glimpse. That was a nice glimpse of the past. I thank you.
I feel as though I got a nice glimpse of the past then too. There was a glimmer of light in his eyes, a brief twinkle, and an insight to the true nature of this man known as the stone-cold Reaper of the Bailey.
Mr. Naruhodo.
Oh, that's the first time he's ever used my actual name.
I've lost all confidence in my country's justice system. I don't trust the police, the judiciary, or lawyers. But there's still one thing I'm willing to believe in.
What's that?
That which you see in the eyes of another across the courtroom. A simple determination to know the truth.
One moment. My mum has messaged me her Wordle score for the day. Da 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 da. Normally I wait until after stream to do it, but oh well. I saw it then, I'm just like, I'm gonna do it.
Although normally she sends it to me early enough that I can send it to her before I start stream. Lord Van Zeeks.
From the very first time we clashed in the Bailey almost a year ago now, I couldn't deny it, even though I dearly wished I could. Here is a loathsome Nipponese who has absolute integrity as a lawyer. There are only two men I've known with that same look in their eyes. My brother Clint and Genshin Asogi.
The man he idolized and the man who betrayed his trust in the most hideous way.
When you showed me that photograph just now, it reminded me.
You mean this photograph? Look at this photograph.
Back then I was able to laugh.
How do British people say laugh?
I was able to laugh. I was free of the shackles of mistrust that plague me now. I looked to the future with hope. Since then, I've protected myself against betrayal by refusing to trust anyone. But at times, the mire into which I've sunk makes it almost impossible to breathe.
I'm so sorry.
So, Mr. Naruhodo, I want to believe in that look in your eyes. I need to believe in it. In tomorrow's trial, will you advocate for me?
Of course I will. It would be an honor. I'm so pleased, Mr. Naruhodo.
Then my life is in your hands.
For Lord Van Zeeks, that must have been an incredibly hard thing to ask. Which is why I simply cannot let the man down. Tomorrow, in the Old Bailey, against my old friend Kazuma. To be continued, I assume. There it is. I was a little early. Hold on. I will save, but also we'll save here so we don't override our old one. Is my streak that bad? Anyway, enough Wordle. Back to Ace Attorney. It's trial time, baby. 2nd November, 8:56 a.m. The Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. There's that old familiar feeling again. The crushing pressure of this historic courthouse. Actually, no. It's a little different today. There's an even more menacing tension in the air. There is a menacing tension here in the air here today, isn't it? Isn't there? I suppose... Yes, I think so. It can only be the result of the menacing appearance of the defendant.
A little more courtesy, if you please.
Oh my, I do apologize.
However, you're certainly not mistaken that this trial is far from ordinary.
What do you mean?
I'm not privy to the details, however, I understand that no jury has been selected.
A trial without a jury? Well, that's just like the trial of the professor 10 years ago. A closed court. Good morning, my dear fellows. Mr. Sholmes. Have you made a note of my hair, Mr. Naruhodo? Mr. Naruhodo? An outright victory for science, you must agree. His hair's normal again, let's go. To be perfectly honest, so much happened yesterday that, well, I completely forgot about your little hair problem. Huh? What to one man is a little hair problem, is to another a day of drinking dubious potion after dubious potion. You have no idea how my stomach ails me this morning. Oh dear, how awful for you. I'm afraid you only have yourself to blame, Mr. Sholmes. And good morning to you, Mr. Reaper. I'm delighted to see you looking so full of vim.
And are you? I see London's celebrated great detective is as active as ever.
Oh, you exaggerate, my dear fellow. Compared to my paltry engagements with a few trivial cases, the Reaper's overbearing presence is a far greater deterrent to the black roots of crime in our capital. And whilst I may not agree with your methods, there is at least one point on which I would readily commend you.
What an honor, and that would be?
Your eye for a good lawyer, sir. Mr. Sholmes. After all, behind this lawyer there is a very great mind. My own. Bruh, he's trying to take credit for us.
What are you trying to say?
I wish only to say that you should be prepared for quite a trial, Mr. Reaper. Sorry to barge in. Oh. I don't know who, I didn't know who it was. I didn't know what voice to do. Gina. What's that on her arm? It's a mourning band, I suppose. Father, shouldn't you be at the symposium?
It's been postponed, so I have some free time. I've decided to come along with the police inspector to see our country's up-and-coming student in action. I shall be very interested to see the fruits of your studies over the past year.
Well, it's an honor to have you here. Let's hope there are some fruits to see. Oh no. Oh, yes, Gina? Why'd you agree to say? Why'd you take him on? It's Reaper bloke. Everyone says it was him what killed the boss. I'm sorry, Gina, but I just don't believe that. Well, if it weren't him, who was it? I don't know that yet. I don't care what it... I don't care who calls him what. The Reaper's just a name. He's just a person at the end of the day. And if it turns out it was him what killed the boss, then God help him. Meanwhile, he's just standing there.
Fiery eyes indeed. Yes, the culprit deserves every ounce of your loathing.
Eh?
At least, that may be some solace to the deceased.
Please, Otto. Get whoever did this. For the boss. Oh, Gina.
I hate feeling this useless, but there's nothing I can do. So you've got to find who done this and make the wretch pay.
Counsel for the defense and the defendant. Court will be in session shortly. Make your way to the courtroom at once, please.
Alright then, here we go. It's time, Mr. Naruhodo. Lord Van Zeeks.
Off we go. Oh no, not yet.
The one who lost his treasured brother to a mass murderer. The one who lost his treasured father in a foreign court of law. And one who lost the man who helped her escape destitution. All that misfortune, all that pain, on course to collide headlong in this trial. It's time to shine a light on all these dark events.
Also, I just realized, if we don't have a jury, we're not going to be doing any summation examinations then.
And whatever truth is revealed, we're going to have to look it straight in the eye. Why did it show Shobes for that? Huh. 2nd November, 9:20 a.m. The Old Bailey courtroom. Yeah, the jury's just empty.
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are here to conduct the fair and just trial of the defendant, Baroque Van Zeeks. Counsels for the defense and prosecution, are you ready to begin?
There apparently are still people in the jury, it seems. The defense is ready, my lord. The prosecution is more than ready. Oh, Kazuma-sama. I've been wishing to see you in court again for so long, it feels. But I never pictured it happening like this. I never thought I'd be facing you behind the prosecutor's bench.
The so-called Reaper of the Bailey has been a scourge like no other, undermining Her Majesty's justice system. Today we must uncover the truth behind this scourge.
In other words, this trial is going to be a lot more far-reaching than Inspector Gregson's murder.
The truths revealed by these proceedings may have unpredictable repercussions through the judiciary.
Oh, I just had a thought. I can... Hold on. I can advertise my quiz show in my stream overlay. Perfect. Is that overlapping? I can't tell. Deselect it. It's a little overlapping. Shrink it a little bit. Hey, let me select it, you dumb thing. Is that good? You know what? I'll just move it below the thing. There we go. Anyway.
Accordingly, they are to be conducted as a closed trial with no members of the public present, besides all of the people sitting in the gallery, by Her Majesty's direct orders.
How will that work, my lord? So maybe they're all members of, like, law enforcement then? And that's why they're allowed to be here? Or they're just mannequins, I guess.
The burden of all arbitration and adjudication falls on my shoulders. Therefore, as you will see, the juror's bench shall remain vacant today.
If no members of the public are present, might I ask who is currently occupying the gallery, my lord? Good question. I didn't think they'd actually address that.
They are members of the judiciary, here to witness proceedings and ensure an equitable trial.
Members of the judiciary. Oh my. This is a very unusual trial already.
There is, of course, another unprecedented aspect to these proceedings on which I must elaborate. The counsels for the prosecution and defense are both aliens of Great Britain.
I believe it takes an outsider to see the truth sometimes. And as I stand here in this courtroom now, I'm quite certain this is the reason why I had to come to Britain. Kazuma?
Very well. Let us commence proceedings. Prosecutor Asogi, your opening statement, if you please.
Certainly, my lord. Oh, we're not going to get any, like, throwing the wine glass around all over the place. because there's no Lord Van Zeeks this time. An incident took place on 1st November, just after 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The location was a building of flats on Fresno Street on the outskirts of the city. The victim's body was discovered there in an old single-room rental property.
Yes, Inspector Tobias Gregson. A name known very well indeed to this court. Not least for his miraculous resolution of one of this country's grimmest cases 10 years ago.
The Professor case. How sure are you about the time of the incident?
Several witnesses on the street outside heard the gunshot,
and all have reported the same. Yes, that's what Gina told us too. There were a number of witnesses. I have here a plan of the room. The victim was found curled up in one corner. It's believed he was shot from the front at point-blank range and died instantly.
How has the range been determined?
There were scorch marks around the entry wound. Such marks are caused by the gunpowder used to fire the bullet. But powder hot enough to leave scorch marks is only ejected a few inches beyond the end of the barrel. In other words, it only happens when the target is at point-blank range.
I see, yes. Thank you for the detailed explanation, Counsel.
Autopsy report. Death was instant, resulting from bullet shot at close range. The murder weapon was found lying beside the victim. I would just like to check this. Tobias Gregson. Coroner Maria Gorey. Gorey? Did all the past autopsy reports have the coroner listed there? Or are they only doing this now because they had to put it there for case 3? Victim was shot in the chest at close range from the front, resulting in instant death. Scorch marks at the point of entry. Bullet exited the body from behind. The caliber of the gun used matches that of standard issue firearms for members of the judiciary.
And have you managed to ascertain the owner of this firearm?
No, my lord. Not conclusively. Bravo, Kazuma-sama, for not trying to use the gun as evidence when its provenance can't be proven. Furthermore, my lord, as I have explained, the revolver was fired at extremely close range. The bullet passed through the victim and struck the wall behind him. There is a candelabrum mounted on that wall, and the tip of one of the candles on it was found to have been blown off by the projectile. I'm just now thinking, because they're like, oh, all of the witnesses heard the gunshot, and therefore we can determine the time of death. But if you notice, the candle that got shot, it's like that long, right? The other 2 candles have melted down, which means they were left burning for quite some time after the shot. So I feel like there's a chance that maybe there was a first shot that killed Gregson, and then later another shot meant to, like, lure Van Zeeks into the room.
That's my guess right now. We noticed that too, didn't we? Yes, that's right.
Thank you for the thorough report, Counsel. The setting of the crime is clear to me. You will submit the plan of the crime scene as evidence, please.
As you wish, my lord. Crime scene plan?
Is this Fresno Street room Inspector Gregson's private abode?
No, my lord. The room is rented by a Mr. Hugh Boone. But there is precious little furniture inside, and it is generally in a poor state of repair. So what on earth was Gregson even doing there? I can't think of what the pun in Hugh Boone is, so I'm guessing it's just another fucking Sherlock Holmes reference. Presumably he was investigating some case or other. When a policeman was informed of the gunshot from the witnesses and rushed to the scene, he found only the deceased inspector and the accused standing alongside, holding the revolver. We didn't know he was holding it. The attending officer arrested the accused on the spot. Oh no. That makes it even worse.
So, the details of the case are clear.
In that case, the prosecution would like to call its first witness.
A name, please, Counsel.
Naturally. The accused himself. Lord Van Zeeks! As a prosecutor, he believes in the oath of office he's taken and will be compelled to tell the truth.
Very well. Let the defendant take the witness stand.
So, witness, state your name and occupation for the court.
Barak Van Zeeks, Old Bailey prosecutor. I presume, Lord Van Zeeks, that you heard Prosecutor Asogi's opening precis.
I did.
It is alleged that you are found at the scene of the crime, and that you are arrested by the arriving police officer. Can you confirm this?
Yes, my lord. Then I'm sure the court would like to hear your explanation. You explained some things away. Namely, why you were in the room on Fresno Street at the time in question, and what exactly took place.
I intend to explain away nothing. I will simply tell the truth. I must say, Lord Van Zeeks, I never imagined this day would come. Or rather, I didn't want to imagine it would come. But since you became known as the Reaper, a part of me has been dreading it. Your formal testimony, then, witness.
The facts of the innocent. I was investigating Gregson, and my inquiries had led me to that address. When I first entered the room that day, it was dark inside, and I saw no one. A moment later, I heard the gunshot. I spun around and saw the revolver on the floor. Just as I picked the firearm up to examine it, the door flew open and I heard a man scream. It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me. What? That testimony was the whole truth? It was. So, you heard a shot being fired in a room with no living occupants. And moments later, a corpse somehow appeared before your eyes? Is that it? You're right, you haven't explained away anything. In fact, that would barely qualify as an excuse. I thought you were my mute apprentice. Yet it turns out you have a way with words, Prosecutor Asogi.
It would appear to be a singular tale indeed.
Singular isn't the word. It's laughable.
What's got into Kazuma? He's not behaving like himself at all. It's probably because he's facing the guy who prosecuted his father.
Very well then. Counsel, you may begin your cross-examination.
Yes, my lord. The facts of the innocent. Incident. Oh, look, it's another 5-statement testimony.
Hold it!
Ever since I noticed that they all seem to be... Ever since I've noticed that, it's just... It keeps jumping out at me. It's like, oh, 5 statements, 5 statements. Why is it always 5 statements? You investigating the inspector? What on earth for?
I'm not at liberty to say.
Sorry?
I'd identified a distinct possibility that Gregson was involved in a case I was investigating. Regrettably, though, he was killed before I could secure the proof I needed. Is the court to understand, then, that on the day in question, you followed the victim to the scene?
No.
I was privy to his movements in advance.
How?
I stole into his office in the yard and consulted his diary. The address on Fresno Street was noted in the 5 p.m. entry.
You illegally entered the man's office. In Japan, that alone would constitute a very serious offense.
As it does in Great Britain, I assure you. Is that not the case, Lord Van Zeeks?
I was aware of the possible consequences. So, in summary, you were investigating the victim, and yet, you refused to tell the court why. I didn't realize British prosecutors enjoyed such freedom in choosing what to divulge under oath. Why did I ever think I could defend this man? You got to. It was dark and he saw no one. Had you ever been to the address before?
No, never. I only learnt of the place as a result of my investigations into Gregson's activities. There was no light inside when I entered, so it was all but impossible to make out anything.
But at 5 p.m., the sun would have only just gone down. It would have still been reasonably light outside.
The room has a window, but it was boarded shut. Very little light found its way into the room from outside, so it was extremely murky inside. I wouldn't have noticed if the victim was already lying on the floor.
There was no artificial light in the room, you say? You're quite sure?
I'm quite sure that the part of the room where the body was found was very dark. I have a feeling there was a small oil lamp burning on the desk, though I couldn't say for certain.
Look, Mr. Naruhodo. There's a small desk on the room just here. Yes, I remember. And there was an oil lamp on it, as well as the framed photograph.
When I entered the room, I closed the door behind me and started towards the desk to investigate.
And what did you find?
Nothing. I never actually reached the desk.
I think what I noticed earlier is actually going to be a contradiction here. When I first entered the room that day, it was dark inside and I saw no one. I'm gonna press everything anyway, but I think I'm supposed to present this because, like, it's clear that the candles were still burning at the time, because they burned down lower than where the shot happened. But anyway, we'll press everything just to check if there's any other information. So, who fired the gun?
I have no idea. I didn't see anybody else in the room.
But you say it was very dark in there.
Yes, that's right. All I can tell you is I didn't sense another's presence.
Ah, then could it be that the gunshot actually originated from somewhere outside the room?
No, that's out of the question. Oh. Without doubt, the sound emanated from inside the room. I could smell the gunpowder.
It's gone from bad to worse.
And you say that's the point at which you noticed the revolver on the floor? Correct, and I foolishly picked it up. That was careless on my part. Presumably then the gunshot you heard came from the firearm that you somewhat hastily took in your hands. In point of fact, my lord, I believe it did not.
What?
The barrel of the revolver I picked up was cold, and there was no smell of spent powder.
But then, where on earth is the gun that was fired?
Whilst I would like to oblige you with an answer, I'm afraid I can't. I too would dearly like to know that.
So I think my theory is correct, just not for the reasons I thought. So probably Gregson was shot earlier, and then they fired off another shot from somewhere else in order to frame Van Zeeks, I'm guessing. A man, you say? One of the witnesses, I presume?
That's right. Oh, that's right. One of the merchants working on Fresno Street.
Who are these merchants?
A number of them had set up their stalls directly beneath the boarded windows of the crime scene. A match seller, a newsmonger, and a peddler. They've all given statements saying they heard the gunshot. And without thought of danger, they ran inside to see what had happened. Yes, Gina told us about that yesterday, didn't she? They burst through the door with some force, it would seem.
They did, and almost gave me a heart attack in the process.
But you're supposed to be the Reaper.
The first man to come in immediately noticed the revolver in my hand and fled.
A policeman patrolling on Fresno Street heard the commotion and was able to arrest the accused shortly after the incident occurred.
Anyway, the man's scream drew my attention in that direction.
It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me. What do you mean by that? In what way did the body appear?
I honestly can't explain it, but it's the truth. As far as I was concerned, the body hadn't been there until that point, and then suddenly, there it was.
Did you perhaps hear the sound of the victim falling to the ground just beforehand?
At that moment, what I heard was the sound of the door flying open and the scream of the man who came inside first. Nothing more.
I see.
After the man fled, I examined the body. I was stunned to find it was Gregson. Most curious circumstances indeed. How the inspector was killed, or how his body seemed to appear out of nowhere, I have no idea.
Objection.
Okay, I guess I wasn't supposed to present. Good thing I didn't.
Surely the court has heard enough. My lord, the cross-examination has clearly revealed that the accused Baruch Van Zeeks is lying on multiple fronts.
What is that supposed to mean?
Good gracious, counsel. Defendant is lying, you say?
In his testimony just now, he claims he failed to notice the victim's body because the room was dark.
That's correct.
No, that's impossible.
I wonder if maybe I could present it and do the same. And then, like, if you don't, then Kazuma does it for you. But I don't know.
As proven by this candelabrum.
How does that prove anything? If you examine the tip of the long candle, you can see it has been blown off by a powerful impact.
One would assume that the projectile from the firearm passed through the victim and struck the candle.
The problem comes when you consider the other candles, which are clearly of a different length.
Yes, I can see that only the candle that appears to have been struck by the bullet is long.
We could reasonably expect someone to have lit all 3 candles together, which begs the question of why only one has ended up longer than the others. That must be because that particular candle was extinguished when the others were still burning. Ah! That's right. When the candle was hit by the bullet, it obviously went out. So this... I was right. This is going to prove things, probably. So if it was actually dark in the room, then it was probably that the shot first happened earlier, and then using the actual gun, and then another bullet-like sound happened within the room when Van Zieks was there. That's my theory at the moment. Don't tell me if I'm correct. When the candle was hit by the bullet, it obviously went out, but the other 2 candles would still have been burning. So the fact is, the victim's body would have been illuminated by the light still thrown by the candelabrum, and the accused's claim that he couldn't see the body clearly contradicts those facts. And now, to the next lie. There's more? The accused also claims to never have visited the scene of the crime before.
That's the truth.
In that almost empty room, the police discovered something very unusual. A board covered from top to bottom in police documents and newspaper cuttings. Yes, that's right, we saw it too. It goes without saying that the contents of the police documents cannot be divulged. However, they include a number of reports from various historical cases, the oldest of which was from 10 years ago. 10 years ago? This is starting to sound familiar. There is a common thread linking all the documents on that board.
Indeed? What is this common thread, Counsel?
They all relate to cases prosecuted in court by Baruch Van Zieks. All of them? And furthermore, all those cases are ones in which the defendant was acquitted. He was looking into the Reaper. On the assumption that this is still Gregson's place. He was looking into the Reaper, probably. But now he's trying to use the fact that this is here to, like, connect it to Van Zieks.
Good lord.
Interestingly, none of those defendants are alive today, because all of them have been sent to their graves by the Reaper. Ah! But what... So I guess Natsume, Gina, and Albert's cases weren't on there? Perhaps? Oh no. In short, that dingy little room is the Reaper's secret hideout and base of his operations. The Reaper's hideout? And yet the Reaper would claim to have never been into his own secret hideout? No one would believe that. No, the truth is we've been looking at this backwards.
Backwards? Explain, Counsel.
Inspector Gregson was investigating the identity of the Reaper. When he discovered the location of the man's secret hideout, he was killed. As I'm sure everyone can imagine, by the Reaper's hand.
But what?
It's still, that animation still bothers me. Like, it's a funny animation, it's cool and all, but he very clearly does not fly back far enough to actually hit the wall.
Order! Order!
Very well. I hereby state the current opinion of the court. Baroque Van Zieks is an outstanding prosecutor who has rendered great service to his country. However, it is with deep regret that I must concur with Prosecutor Asogi's contention that the defendant's testimony exhibits a number of stark inconsistencies with the known facts. All I have done is state the truth as I know it. Kazum has done a brilliant job as ever. He's drawing on his experience as a defense attorney to build his prosecution case, and it's formidable. Counsel, you will submit the board that you just showed to the court as evidence. I believe it to be fundamental in establishing the facts surrounding the Reaper's existence.
Thank you, my lord. The notice board has been entered into the court record. A freestanding notice board completely covered in notes on and articles related to the victims of the Reaper of the Bailey. And now the prosecution would like to call a new witness to the stand. But first I would like to examine this. Is there anything on the back? Hello! I knew there'd be something on the back. Oh, what's this? Mr. Naruhodo, look! Oh yes, it's a smudge of some kind. In fact, it looks just like a handprint. And the color, that's blood, isn't it? Oh dear, how disturbing. There is a bloody handprint on the backside. This is why you always got to check out your evidence. There are details of a whole raft of cases dating back years on here, aren't there? The paper from 10 years ago is browning with age, look. Out of interest, the most recent thing appears to be this newspaper cutting here. Oh, it's the same Red-Headed League advertisement that Mr. Sholmes picked out. And do you remember? There was a red hairpiece at the scene too. Was Inspector Gregson an exponent of the Red-Headed League then?
Witnesses who saw the events.
That's not his voice. Witnesses who saw the events unfold on the day in question. They were mentioned in the previous testimony too, if you remember. Yes, the street sellers who heard the gunshot and went running into the room.
Very well. Lead the witnesses in. The defendant may step down from the witness stand.
Certainly, my lord. Well now. Oh hey! He was in the first game. That last guy.
So, witnesses.
Oh. I keep wanting to give him Van Zieks' voice because he's the prosecutor. So, witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court. Names? We don't use names. Too fancy for the likes of us. We're just free and easy. Sell what we like, live where we want to live. I give them all vacant stares. They walk down the Fresno and spin a few words into a verse for them.
Ah. Would I be right in assuming that all three of you make your living by selling wares on the street?
Everyone calls me Gossip. I sell jaunty little tidbits to passers by, you know. Jaunty little tidbits? Titbits? Got an absolute smasher for you, sir. Right up your ginnel it is. 6p is the price, not a penny less. My man sells fucking gossip? Wait, you're actually trying to sell it to me now? Come on, sir, don't tell me you're not interested.
Try the man.
Give him the money and see what it is.
Pay the man, counsel.
Alright, 6p it is. My man's got like a bruise or a burn around his neck. I feel like that's going to be relevant at some point. You won't regret it, sir. Now got your listening ears on. Just between us, a young couple on Slate Street just had twins.
Is that it?
No, that's not it. It's gossip, innit? It wants to spread. But that bit's up to you and your mouth, of course. I got more, you know. Want another juicy one? 6 pence a piece it is, if you're curious. I am curious, yes, about what's going on just under that fat bottom lip of yours. Namely, that they're actually bringing it up. Okay. I thought it was going to come up later, but they're immediately acknowledging it. Namely, that unusual bruise or whatever it is that's poking out from under your collar. What about the next witness, then? What name do you go by, and what do you... I keep giving him the wrong voice. What about the next witness, then? What name do you go by, and what do you sell? Me? I'm Venus. That's what everyone calls me. Funny, innit? I sell these lovely little fireworks at the local school, to all the local school kids. That is what Van Ziek's probably heard. Someone set off a firecracker, he heard it as like a gunshot, and then he looks around and sees the gun. That's my guess at this point. Someone shot the dude earlier, and that's why the candles were still burning, but then they were put out. Van Zieks comes in, it's dark, someone sets off a firecracker, and that lures everyone to the scene. Oh, they probably, maybe went to the floor above, dropped the firecracker through, the chimney or something, maybe. £6 a pop, what'd you say? You weren't exaggerating with little. Do they actually sell? Never mind. I guess maybe they're not big enough to be mistaken as a gunshot. Oh yeah, the second years can't get enough of my Venus firecrackers. Is that supposed to be like a play on Venus flytrap? Especially when I tell them that if they get 100, they could blow up the school.
Not the most savory of ideas, young lady.
What'd you say then, eh? Want to part with 6 pence for a pop?
Wait, what? You want me to buy one?
Tell you what, I'll let you in on a little secret. If you get 100 of them, you can blow up the whole courtroom.
Try the woman.
Give her the money and see if she's right.
Pay the woman, counsel. Alright, I'll buy one.
Lovely stuff, right then. This is something a bit extra, just for you. A Venus special. Only 600 pence.
600?
It's 100 of my regular fireworks. Nothing little about that, is there?
That's probably what we heard.
And there'd be nothing little about the punishment if I blew up the Old Bailey either. The Venus firecracker. The Venus special firecracker consisting of 100 smaller fireworks at 6 pence each. What sort of bang would it make? And the last witness. What name do you go by and what do you sell? I'm a thinker, me. All sorts of thoughts. I think, therefore I am, therefore I think. I think. Because I stand there on the street, watching the world go on about me. They call me the observator. The observator.
Get out of it, old man. Everyone calls you Sandwich and you know it.
So, you don't actually sell anything?
A problem shared is a problem halved, as they say. I give advice, I do, and think what it means.
Does that say hot actual hero?
I don't actually sell anything, no, come to think of it.
Pity. No more purchases today, please.
Well, we have quite the cast here, as it seems. He wasn't called Sandwich in the first game. Maybe I'm mistaking him. They conduct their business on Fresno Street from morning until night, my lord. And always in the same place, directly adjacent to the crime scene. I see. And thus they heard the gunshot, I suppose.
Not only that, but they very bravely ran inside to see what was going on and witnessed the crime. Well, I'll be begging, I thought, just between us. Venus de Milo, what am I to do? What a terrible thing I saw.
What I think is, if all what we see is light and shadow, playing with our eyes, is any of it real? Very well. The court will hear the formal testimony of these three witnesses now. You will describe in detail what you witnessed and heard at the time of the incident.
The witnesses' account. We saw the whole thing from start to finish, we did. Everything from the moment they went in the building. It was less than a minute after the Reaper had gone inside that we all heard a bang.
Seems to me that quick to talk is quick to walk. Gossip couldn't wait to go and see what happened and see what had happened.
I ran into the room and there he was, the Reaper, gun in hand, standing over the dead body.
Let me just check something real quick. Yeah, they just straight up don't have surnames. Mysterious signpost. Look, oh, so it is probably him. He looks somewhat familiar.
Ran into the room and there he was, the Reaper, gun in hand, standing over the dead body. I was scared half to death, me, so I ran off to find a copper.
So she's the one who got the police. If these witnesses were there the whole day and saw everything, who did they see going inside the building?
Only the victim, Inspector
Gregson, and the accused, Baroque Van Zieks.
I've seen pictures of the Reaper in the paper. I know what he looks like. And just between us, folks love stories like this. I've made myself a tidy sum already.
But wait, the room was just one of several flats in the building. Someone from another flat could have done it.
All those flats on Fresno Street are on a...
Blah. All those flats on Fresno Street are unoccupied.
Of course they are. They're small, damp, dirty, and expensive to boot.
The room in which the inspector was found is the only property in the building that's currently leased.
And we know the leaseholder's name, don't we? It's Hugh Boone.
The testimony the court has just heard would appear to leave little room for doubt. It's becoming increasingly difficult to see how anyone other than the defendant could have committed the crime.
No!
Thank you for your cantor, my lord.
Counsel for the defense, you may proceed to the cross-examination. You may proceed to cross-examine the witnesses.
Yes, my lord.
In a closed court like this without a jury, the judge is the only person whose opinion matters. I have to break down this testimony, somehow. Everything from the moment they went in the building. When you say they, who do you mean exactly? Inspector Gregson and the defendant, Lord Van Zieks?
I suppose so.
The likes of us don't know the names of the high and mighty. But I'll tell you one thing. It was the old Reaper that went in last, that's for sure and certain. Just behind Inspector Gregson? Did they arrive at the same time as each other?
No, not at all.
A first fella must have gone inside a good 15 minutes before we heard that gunshot. The victim arrived 15 minutes before? Are you sure about that? Am I sure? Am I sure? Does it
Does it seem likely that I've forgotten a fellow with bright red hair like that? That does it. Yeah, his hair really were red, weren't it? Redder than my flaming fireworks, even.
That fiery red mop's still burnt on the inside of my eyelids, it is.
Wait a minute, you're saying the man was a redhead? Weren't you listening, chum? Aye, he was a redhead. He had a big trunk with him as well. That wasn't Gregson. That was probably the real killer carrying Gregson's body in the trunk, and that's why Gregson was curled up in a ball. Theories. But Inspector Gregson's hair isn't red. Not by any stretch of the imagination. It seems likely that the person you saw wasn't in fact Inspector Gregson at all, but some other third party. No, I hate to break it to you, but the witnesses are correct. What? Oh, never mind. They found him with the wig on. Just have a look at this photograph of the victim taken at the scene. Yes, that's Inspector Gregson, all right. And a red hairpiece. Ah. Of course. We saw one on the floor when we investigated the scene, didn't we? I still refuse to believe Inspector Gregson wore a hairpiece, though. So then, why on earth would he have been wearing something like that?
The colour does seem to suit the man, one might say. The photograph will be submitted as evidence, please, counsel.
Body appears to be tightly curled up. There's a red hairpiece on his head. And what became of the trunk that the red-headed victim was supposedly carrying? I would like to have a closer look at this, just see if there's anything of interest. He's curled up into a ball. Hands are empty. And he's definitely bleeding. So... I'm still theorizing that Gregson was brought at from somewhere else with the trunk. I was informed that no trunk was found at the scene. So it just disappeared. What? Do you expect us to have been watching the building every second, do you? We definitely saw him in the dock going in, though. No question about that. It was less than a minute after the Reaper had gone inside that we all heard a big bang. Which, presumably, you mean the gunshot. I sell these little things, don't I? How would I know what a gunshot sounds like? But I've always thought it probably sounds a bit... like this, doesn't it? And you say that you heard the noise almost as soon as you saw the defendant here enter the building? That's right. It's almost straight away. Bang, it went. Just like that. Well, he's the Reaper, right? Isn't he? That's what the French call her. Fait accompli. I don't speak French. When the Reaper's around, people are going in the ground. I mean, that's what he does, isn't it? I think we get the message. The Reaper couldn't allow the inspector to live after he discovered his secret hideout. There can be no clearer motive for the crime.
Yes. It's certainly an eminently credible motive.
Great. At that point, you ran inside, is that correct? Seems to me that quick to talk is quick to walk. Gossip couldn't wait to go inside and see what had happened. Oh, he's called Sandwich because, like, sandwich board. That's like the kind of board that he's wearing. So, when Gossip ran to see what had happened, did you go too?
Well, I'm a bit hampered, you see. All the signs that I can't move very well.
You were way behind, presumably, with that sandwich board around your neck and that big sign in your hand. What a great burden you bear. Pardon me for asking, Mr. Sandwich, but Is it possible you and I have met before? I'm not anybody, me. The signs are what make me who I am now. I signed, therefore I am. So, you weren't employed as an omnibus driver just under a year ago, then? It's Beppo. I might be mistaken, but I believe his trembling has intensified, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, I agree. He's clearly been through a lot. Turn down King Henry Street and the Black Widower's Arms is just there. Oh dear, you've made him hide behind his sign. Life is full of surprises. So this guy, he was in a case in the first game where it was found that he was actually overcharging for certain fares or whatever. And so he got fired after that case. And so now here he is. And into the room, there he was. So then, you were the first person to arrive on the scene, is that right? That I was. Kicked the door open like a professional, I did. And yelled out, "What's going off here?" Lord Van Ziek's claims all he heard was a man's scream, though. Oh, that was supposed to be... And it was dark inside the room? No, not dark at all. There were candles burning on the wall. Really? And there was a fella collapsed on the floor. Just between us. It's the first thing I noticed when I got inside. Ah, I see. Even though Lord Van Ziek's claims not to have seen any such lights on the wall. The next thing I noticed was some... Maybe. If he could... If there was perhaps like... You know, like flash paper that like magicians use. You light it on fire and it like... Foom, up in smoke or whatever. What if there was like some sort of like paper barrier in front of the candles in the body, and then the firecracker goes off, burns that away, and all of a sudden Van Zieks can now see the body. That's we're working on we're theory crafting here. I don't know the right words. Oh, why is my nose stuffed up now? I guess it's better than it was last week, but can't wait for winter to be over and for my nose to be at least moderately clear again. The next thing I noticed was someone standing right beside the body. The accused, Baroque Van Zieks. That's right, the Pale-Faced Reaper himself. I was a little shocked, I won't deny it, but I'm no lily-livered coward. I stood my ground and gave that Reaper a cold, hard stare myself.
Excuse me.
You sure about that? Do you have something to add, Mr. Sandwich? There's really nothing to me. Empty in the head I am, just 2 slices with no middle. So I don't know what you could want with me. I think that maybe you just remembered something, having heard Mr. Gossip's last statement, I mean. What I think is, we're all nothings, really. We try to dress ourselves up as something else, but at the end of the day, we're all just street sellers. That's enough out of you, Sandwich. Keep your trap shut now. Unless you want us to make you into a real sandwich. When he saw the Reaper, he fell clean over on his backside. That's it? Oh, you rotten beggar. I told you to keep that a secret. He screamed, he did. Screamed and scrambled off on all 4s. That's all I wanted to say. Mr. Gossip, is this true?
The floor was dead slippery, that's why. Planted my hand in a filthy pool of blood, didn't I? Yuck. What? A pool of blood? But listen here, when I was sprawled on the floor, I kept giving the Reaper a cold hard stare, and don't you forget it. Let's just go back a little. Did you say you got blood on your hand? I did, happens to the best of us at times, doesn't it? I was scared, so I slipped over. We can keep it just between us, can't we? No, Mr. Gossip. I'm going to have to ask you to add that information to your formal testimony. Oh, if I must. The witness will amend his testimony to include the aforementioned details at once. Slipped over and got blood on my hand, so I quickly wiped it off on the floor. Like on the floor, oh, the floor plans don't show. I thought we were going to be presenting that, like, oh, the blood's actually nowhere near him. But I think what we want is the fact that there's... It wasn't the floor, it was on this.
Objection.
So you wipe the blood off from your hand on the floor of the room. Are you quite sure about... That's why the fucking... That's why he didn't see the body, because the signboard was in front of it, probably. The signboard had been moved to that side of the room, and then after... Like, he kicked in the door, and like, after the firecrackers went off, then the signboard fell over. Maybe. But then who put it back to where it was when we saw it? Are you quite sure about that? Well, what else do you expect me to have done, eh? Does it really matter?
Objection.
The police found no such handprint on the floor during their investigations. What exactly is the defense asserting? If you listen, you'll find out, Prosecutor Asogi. Certainly, there was no bloody handprint found on the floor. What are you trying to say? There was a handprint left very clearly at the scene. On the back of this notice board. Ah! My man's twisting. Ah, yes, indeed. Indisputably a handprint in the decisive colour of blood. Ah, you're dead right, that's my right hand. I'd know it anywhere.
Objection.
The witness very clearly testified he wiped his hand on the floor. Any handprints on the back of the board are irrelevant.
Objection.
Are you sure about that? Not if the board itself had fallen over onto the floor. In that case, it's quite possible for the witness's handprint to have ended up there. It's his right hand. Oh, but then if it's that side, yeah. Just look at the floor plan of the room. The notice board was in the opposite corner of the room to the victim, and in an upright position. Even if it had somehow been toppled and was lying on the floor at the time, it would have been a considerable distance from the body. Unless it had been moved. And I fell over when I came across the body. So I was basically right next to the corpse. Not on the other side of the room. In other words, the defense's assertion is contradictory. Yes, it is. There's a very definite contradiction here, for which there must be a reason. I take it you've formulated a proper hypothesis, counsel? Regarding this apparent discrepancy between the witness's account and the handprint found at the scene? I have, my lord. The discrepancy between the witness's account and the location of the handprint is explained by the board moving. The real contradiction here is the handprint itself, not where it was found. As the court can see, it's upside down.
Good gracious, so it is. If the witness had put his hand against the board, the fingers should be pointing upwards.
What does that tell us? It tells one simple fact. When this handprint was made, the board must have been lying on the floor as I previously suggested, which means that after the incident, it must have been moved. What?
Objection.
You're claiming that somebody moved the notice board after the shooting? Then tell the court who. I don't know that yet. But the point is, when you consider all the testimony we've heard so far, we can now be very clear on one point.
And what would that be?
The position of the notice board at the time of the incident, my lord.
So, counsel, I must ask you to clarify the assertion for the court. At the time of the incident, where do you maintain the notice board was situated?
It was over here, near the body.
Take that.
It was right here, my lord.
Goodness! No, I'm afraid I don't quite see your logic.
I'm disappointed, Ryunosuke. In Japan, we're taught to have patience and respect for our elders. So until his lordship sees your logic, you will know your place and not move from that spot. Did I go too close? How brilliant of Kazuma-sama. That almost sounded unreasonable at first, but he was just thinking of you. Unreasonable? Try unfathomable. Anyway, I think I have the answer now. I know my place, or rather, I know the board's place. Let me, save real quick. Because I think I had it right. I just maybe went too close to the body.
So, counsel, I must ask you to clarify your assertion for the court.
It was here then, maybe. Not like right on top of the body. This is the... Oh. They wanted me to put it right there? Okay. Oh yeah, that would have still blocked the view. This is the only possible location. All right, because that's why it would have fallen over from, like, the door opening. And because Van Zieks had walked over to the gun, he would now be able to see it. Okay. I got it now.
Immediately adjacent to the doorway.
If the court would think back on the testimony given by the defendant earlier, he said that when he entered the room, it was dark, and he couldn't see the body. By heck! If the notice board had been here, the body would have been completely hidden from view, and the light of the candles would have been blocked, making the room appear darker.
Objection.
But the accused also claims that the victim's body simply appeared before him. That's true. Or, in his precise words...
Just as I picked up the firearm to examine it, the door flew open and I heard a man scream. It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me.
I don't know about calling it a scream, but he was talking about me, no mistake. Because it was me that kicked the door open. If you look again at the floor plan, consider what would happen if the door to the room was thrown open with force. That can't be. That can't. The door struck the notice board, knocking it over and making the victim's body visible.
Good gracious.
My client has told nothing but the truth. He simply described what he saw.
Ah! Order! Order! Counsel, how has this not come to light before now?
After the incident, somebody must have righted the board and moved it into the position where the police, myself, and my colleagues saw it when investigating the room.
Witness, what do you have to say for yourself?
What? Me, my lord? You and your fellows were there at the scene before anybody else. It goes without saying that you must know something about the position of the notice board.
The witnesses in the stand will testify again. You will each explain exactly what you did upon arriving at the scene of the crime.
Hey, stop looking over your glasses at me, I get the message.
The mystery of the moving board.
I don't know anything about that there notice board. I just want my hand on it, that's all. But don't look at me. I haven't got a clue about it. I was doing business with some second years at the time.
I don't know anything about anything. I'm just a bystander, me. Just a sign at the crossroads of life.
It was that Reaper, I bet. He's got a face that screams bored.
I can't see how this changes anything anyway. The detective still died when we heard the gunshot.
Did you now? Did he now, rather? Are you sure about that?
So none of you can elaborate further.
Shaken by the crime they witnessed, and with only the light of a few candles and an oil lamp by which to see, we can't expect these witnesses to be able to give a more precise account of what happened.
That's right, yeah. It don't pay to expect too much.
It's man's endless quest for knowledge that's destroying the world. That's what I think.
Do you, really?
In any case, as this testimony shows, even if the notice board was moved by somebody following the incident, it makes no difference. When the gunshot rang out, the accused was the only person at the scene.
But are you sure it was a gunshot?
In short, the only person who could possibly have committed this crime is Baroque Van Zieks. None of this wrangling over the board changes that simple fact.
Quite so, quite so. Does the defense still wish to cross-examine the witness, despite the circumstances?
Most certainly, my lord.
Very well, then you may proceed, counsel.
Here we go.
Mystery of the moving board.
Hold it!
So you admit it was the board you wiped your bloody hand on? Admit it? What's to admit? It's there plain as day for all to see, smashing print in my right hand.
Perhaps you wanted to hide that handprint. So you righted the notice board and pushed it into the corner, did you?
No, no, imagine the weight of that great lump. Do I look like a powerful and well-nurtured man?
Well, did you see anybody else moving the board?
I got nerves of steel, I can tell you, but even I have my limits. There was a body on the floor in front of me, and the Grim Reaper himself standing over it. And there was precious little light inside either. My bottom lip was all a quiver.
In other words, this witness is unable to give definite testimony on that point.
Yes, so it would seem.
Well, don't look at me. I haven't got a clue about it. I was doing business with some second years at the time.
What do you mean? Oh, I guess maybe she ran to get the police and then just didn't go back. When you say you were doing business with them, you mean you were selling them fireworks?
Yeah, what else? There's the primary school just round the corner, see? Those cheeky little so-and-sos have got a plan to blow up their school to Kingdom Come.
Trying to do all these voices is not good for me.
So I've been telling on them, letting their teachers know what they're up to.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, wouldn't want anyone to get hurt. So I let the school know the kids are playing with dodgy toys. Then, praise the Lord, the teachers take all the fireworks off them. And then, praise the Lord again, the kids' school come back to me to buy more. Everyone's happy, see?
What a racket.
Of course, sometimes the teachers give me a little bonus to thank me for letting them know. It's a busy old life, selling explosives.
Venus is a guileful goddess indeed.
Well, telling barefaced lies is my kind of thing, really. I'm ever so good at it.
Excuse me.
Really now? Barefaced lies, you say?
Something wrong, Mr. Sandwich?
If I said it was, could we just leave it at that? Would that be the end of it?
No.
Did Miss Venus's statement just now bring something to mind, perhaps?
Philosophical thoughts. Deep philosophical thoughts.
Huh?
Let's say there was a great liar. And a great liar said without batting an eye, "Telling barefaced lies is my kind of thing. I'm ever so good at it." Would those words of hers be a lie too? Or the truth? In which case she's not a liar.
It's a paradox. The liar's paradox.
Oh, it's a hellish paradox, that one, don't you think?
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. But it seems to me you're suggesting Miss Venus has been lying, are you?
What do you want about, old man? Trying to cause me trouble, are you? Keep on like that, and I'll wrap your whole body in firecrackers and set them off. I'll give you something to tremble about.
You have a startlingly disturbing mind behind that sweet and innocent face, young lady.
So, Miss Venus has lied in her testimony. Is that what you're saying, Mr. Sandwich?
Well, if it means I'll be burning in hellfire for the rest of my days, so be it. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Can you elaborate, please, sir?
Old Blabbermouth here headed for the room when the gunshot seemed to come from.
Or where the gunshot seemed to come from.
But there was someone else who crept up the stairs behind him, too. That's right. That rotten liar over there.
Heh.
Do you mean to say that you did, in fact, betake yourself to the scene of the crime after all?
I thought we'd already established that. And then she said she ran off. I guess she was implying earlier that she didn't go up to the room, she just ran to get the police. But now we're saying, like, oh, she did in fact go up there, and then later went down to get the police.
What did I tell you, eh? I said I was good at telling barefaced lies, didn't I?
Yes, you mentioned it. I guess perjury isn't a crime yet?
Well, that revelation rocked the whole courtroom, didn't it?
Who knew firecrackers packed such a punch?
So you did indeed visit the scene of the crime, did you, young lady? Good grief.
Well, now you come to mention it. I suppose perhaps I do clearly remember climbing the stairs to the room, yeah?
Either you clearly remember it or you don't.
Well, I shall consider a fitting punishment for this perjurous act later.
Okay, so perjury is in fact still a crime. One of the most severe crimes that no one else in the Ace Attorney series ever does.
For the time being, you will immediately amend your testimony to reflect the truth.
Oh yes, my lord. Of course.
Maybe I did sneak along beside Gossip and have a little peek in the room where it all happened. Maybe. You make a habit of lying, do you, Miss Venus? Well, I suppose so. I don't really know, to be fair. If you want my advice, though, I'd take everything I say with a big pinch of salt. Alright. Oh, that's the wrong voice. Alright, but you did in fact go to the room where the victim was killed on the day in question, didn't you? Oh, please, as if I would. I can't think of anything more terrifying. The truth, please. Well, alright, just a bit then. I mean, a girl my age is curious about stuff, you know? Did you touch anything at the scene? Oh, please, as if I would. I mean, there was a dead body on the floor. The truth, please. Well, alright, just a bit then. I had a look to see if there was anything I could sell. So I did give the place a once-over, but it was nothing to write home about. Right, now I hesitate to ask, but you didn't move the notice board by any chance, did you? Oh, please, as if I would touch anything like that. Just a few bits of loose change is all I had. The truth, please. Well, alright then. I thought there might be something worth having underneath it. Honey. Honey, what? Ma'am. So I blasted the flippin' thing. Sorry, I flipped the blasted thing. You're telling us that you did move that board? I think that did slip out, didn't it? What? You daft bomb pot! I don't believe it. The girl doesn't think. So, did you find anything then? Something that you might have taken, perhaps? To sell? Oh, please, I should be so lucky. What did that say? History. I should be so lucky. In my imagination, the truth now. I might have found this old pocket watch under the notice board, I suppose. Bit of junk, but a bit of junk like this one. But a bit of junk like this can't be worth much if you ask. Ah! Oh, so it was you, was it? You're the one what took it. Gina. Young lady, may I remind you where you are? That watch there, I was a present to Inspector Gregson from the yard for a big case he solved 10 years ago. The Professor case, no doubt. The boss used to wind it up every evening without fail when he was waiting for his grub to come at the pub. I see. I swiped it off him once and blimey, he was upset. He gave me a right earful. He said he hadn't missed a day in the last 10 years polishing and winding it. It meant the world to him, that watch did. Possibly not the best thing to go diving for then. It's not all that though. I took it... Jabez? I took it to Jabez that night to ask how much it was worth, but the old dealer wouldn't touch it. Wouldn't give me a penny for it, so it wasn't working. Knocked about and worthless, he called it. Why do these two have to have the same voice? How am I supposed to differentiate them? I knew I should have lifted it.
That watch must be submitted to as evidence at once.
Oh, please, just so long as you promise to give it back when we're done. Not a chance. I'll swipe it from you if you're trying to get your grubby mitts on it again.
That's enough. Hand the watch to the bailiff forthwith.
Now, children, watch your manners.
Good lord. The glass appears to be broken. More than likely shattered when the inspector was shot.
doesn't tick anymore either. Which is why Jabez didn't want it. What a waste, eh?
Yes, indeed. It appears to have stopped at the hour of 5.
Exactly when the gunshot was heard, then. Which supports the prosecution's claim, of course. Inspector Gregson's pocket watch that he wound without fail every single day. It's no longer ticking and the glass over the face is cracked.
Well, it would appear that the mystery of the moving notice board has been solved at least.
Let me, have a look at this. The glass over the face is really badly cracked, look. It's a shame. Now, what a shame when the inspector clearly looked after it so carefully. I imagine Mr. Sholmes could repair it, don't you? Yes, I should think so. He's very adept at things like this. A useful man to have around, in fact. But kindly remember that he's a great detective, Mr. Naruhodo, not an odd-job man. There's a tiny little stub sticking out from this hole here, look. I suppose there must have been a little knob or something for that on that for setting the time. In that case, seeing as we know the inspector took such good care of this watch, it probably broke when the incident occurred, didn't it? Yes, of course. Which could mean that there's a small part of the watch still at the scene, maybe. Oh, that's what the police key's for. It's for this, probably. Oh, there's a tiny little keyhole here. Can you see? Well, yes, that's probably for the winder used to wind up the mechanism. It looks a little unusual, don't you think? Yes, you'd need the right key to wind it, I imagine. Why do I feel as though I've seen something? Something a bit like a key that's about the right size to fit this hole. It would be wonderful if we had the key. Let's check carefully over what we've already found. But I already have. Do I have to now go and check this again? We've already read this. It appears to be some sort of key, but it's tiny though. Could be a key for a door, not that size. So what is it for? And now it's a new thing. Mr. Sato, do you think perhaps this key could be the key for Inspector Gregson's watch? Oh, yes, it could be. Let's try it at once. There's not a moment to lose. It does still work. I knew it, a perfect fit. And look, the inspector's watch has started going again. Ah, so it has obviously just not been wound up, that's all. What is it, Mr. Sato? Well, if the watch isn't actually broken after all, I have a feeling it could have profound implications. She's deep in thought now. Perhaps I'd better start thinking deeply too. Having wound it up, it started ticking again. Interesting. It appears that the mystery of the moving notice board has been solved at least. And as predicted, it had very little bearing on the case. Now then, continue with your cross-examination, please, counsel. I don't know anything about anything, I'm just a bystander. I get the feeling. Can't see how this changes anything. The detective still died when we heard the gunshot. I'm going to save. But I think what we need is we need to present the fact that the watch was very much still working. And thus it's possible he may have died earlier and... Oh, because it wasn't wound up, so maybe he even died the previous day. I'm afraid that's not necessarily the case. Oh... At the scene, we found this key to the winder of the inspector's pocket watch. A key. And having wound the pocket watch, we discovered that it in fact still works. You see, the watch didn't stop because it was broken at all. And that fact completely undermines one of the most fundamental premises on which this entire case has been built. What?
Order, order! But Counsel, the watch was stopped at almost exactly 5 o'clock.
Yeah, which is just when we heard that gunshot. It is exactly the hour. The time that was showing on the watch tells us nothing, other than when it wound down. It's merely a coincidence that it happened to be at 5 o'clock.
Objection.
Even if that's true, the 3 witnesses here all heard the gunshot at 5 o'clock. So it's obvious. So that's obviously when this crime was committed. No, that doesn't hold. Why not? Recall what Inspector Lestrade said only moments ago. The boss used to wind up every evening without fail when he was waiting for his grub to come at the pub. He said he hadn't missed a day in the last 10 years, polishing it and winding it. It meant the world to him, that watch did. The victim was in the habit of winding his watch once a day in the evening. We can reasonably assume, therefore, that he wound the timepiece on the evening before he died as well.
Yes, that would be entirely reasonable.
But if that's the case, you wouldn't expect the watch to have completely wound down by 5 o'clock the following day. Oh, Well, how do you explain that? In summary, the evening before the day of the incident, when the gunshot rang out in that room, the inspector was already unable to wind his watch. You can't mean... What would stop a man winding his watch if he's been in the habit of winding it every single evening for 10 years? The obvious answer is that he was already dead. Now that's something. I was right.
Order, order! Counsel, that is a most extraordinary claim.
Objection.
Extraordinary isn't the word. It's absurd. You claim he was already dead the night before? Do you really think that Scotland Yard's coroner would have overlooked something like that? On that subject, there is something rather surprising. There's actually an omission from the coroner's report. The time of death is not noted. That's right. Wait a minute, you're forgetting that my legs went from under me when I kicked the door in. What do you mean? Like I set a plan in my hand in a dirty great puddle of blood.
Yes, so the victim's blood hadn't dried. It was fresh.
He catches on fast, doesn't he?
Objection.
That blood could be explained in any number of ways. It could have been put there afterwards. Some fresh blood could have been poured over the victim's body after he was... Does my learned friend think that fresh blood is available on every street corner? Well, it needn't necessarily have been human blood, of course. We've been told previously that Scotland Yard has no way to identify blood as human.
The problem is currently being researched. At present, you are correct. It is beyond our abilities.
So then, a chicken's blood could have been used, for example? It's certainly a possibility that it wasn't the inspector's blood at all. Right, because this is before all of that.
Objection.
But the gunshot was heard at 5 o'clock that afternoon. That's beyond question. Is it, though? What? Given that the time of death and the victim has already been called into question, isn't it beyond the realms of possibility that what these witnesses heard, or it isn't beyond the realms of possibility that what these witnesses heard wasn't a gunshot at all? Oh please, what are you trying to say? Us lot know what we heard, and it was a loud bang that came from that there room. Now you listen to me. A street seller's ears are his livelihood.
Why does he have a whip? I mean, I know why he has a whip. Why does he still have a whip? He used to be a carriage driver. But... And I don't doubt your ears, sir, but all you can state with certainty is that you heard a noise.
Aye?
Explain yourself then, counsel.
A noise that sounds like a gunshot could have been made with... the firecracker. Is there anything we can do to examine it? We can, apparently. Have you had an idea, Mr. Nanohoda? You're staring at the end of the string of the fireworks. Sorry, it's just that it's the Venus Special. I was wondering what 600 pence worth of fireworks would sound like. Shall we find out? What? But she said it could blow up the courtroom. Bang. Alright. That was a fairly sizable bang. My ears are still ringing, Mr. Nanohoda. It sounded almost exactly like... It goes off like a gunshot. Okay, good thing I checked that before... before we presented it.
Take that!
Something like this. The culprit could have set off one of these to fake a gunshot.
Good gracious, the very fireworks that were sold by the witness?
Now, hold on a minute. Are you saying I did it? My pretty little firecrackers only make a little pop anyway. See? Not 100 of them together. The Venus Special that you sell for 600 pennies sounds like this. Bang! As the court can now attest, it sounds very much like a gunshot, in fact. Ah! Ag-ag-ag-ag-ag. I think was how... What? That's like fucking Popeye's laugh. Are you trying to suggest that somebody set one of those fireworks off at the scene? I'm suggesting that somebody knew the defendant was in the room at 5 that day, and sought to implicate him by creating a sound like a gunshot for those peddlers on Fresno Street to hear.
Objection.
But even the accused himself has testified that he saw no one else in the room at the time. Whether it was a gun or a firecracker, the only person present to cause that bang was Barack Van Zeeks. One whiff of a match and my firecrackers go pop. See? That's why people like them.
I fear for your fingers, young lady.
Recently, during my time here in Britain, I've learnt of a very useful invention indeed. Something called a time bomb. Hey!
Good heavens, a bomb?
Yes, a device that allows you to blow up whatever you like, whenever you like. Mr. Naruhodo, I worry that your unfortunate phrasing there may lead to yet another international incident. No, wait. It's the whenever you like part that's important. A timed device. Yes, exactly. A timed device. Something of that nature could have been planted at the scene. A device that was able to produce the sound of a gunshot long after the culprit had left.
Your extravagant claim will be substantiated with evidence, counsel. What proof do you have to suggest in any way that a time device was employed to...
The watch, because it stopped... It stopped at 5, so when it stopped, the thing went off.
Take that!
You're suggesting this could have been used as some sort of time delay device?
I did think so, my lord. Never mind. It's becoming increasingly clear that we've all been very misguided here. God damn it.
Yes, by you.
What? I thought I was so clever for that.
No, counsel, the time has come for a penalty, without delay.
No time to clear the area before a blast. The candles! That's why they were left burning. The candles burnt down, and that caused the fire to hit the wick. Maybe. Let's just check everything else to make sure. Yeah, nothing else is relevant.
Take that!
This one. As the court has already discussed, the tip of one of the candles in this candelabrum has been blown off.
Indeed, because it was struck by the bullet, which presumably passed through the victim.
I don't think that's possible, my lord. Not possible? Why? Because of the scorching. There are gunpowder scorch marks clearly visible on the broken candle. Well, never mind, I was incorrect in what they were talking about.
There are? Goodness, yes. But is it not the case that there was also scorching on the victim around the bullet entry wound?
That's right, there was. But as we heard earlier, scorching like that only occurs when the target is at very close range, a matter of centimeters from the gun.
Ah.
Which means the scorching on the candle can't possibly have been the result of a gunshot.
You're suggesting it came from the fireworks?
How can it be, eh? The fact that there's such visible scorching on the candle. Oh, sorry. Suggests that the fireworks must have been right next to it when they exploded. Or to put it another way, the candle and the firecrackers were joined together. The culprit somehow attached the firecrackers at a point partway down the candle. Okay, so I was right, I was just wrong about which one was used to do it. After the killer had left the scene. The candle slowly burnt down along with the other two, until eventually it ignited the fuse of the firecrackers, generating a loud bang. And that is how these three witnesses came to believe they'd heard a gunshot at 5 o'clock.
Well, what a plot. And this implies the victim could have died earlier than we've been led to believe, on the previous day even.
Now, just hold your horses. All us lot here saw the victim going into the building, remember?
I couldn't forget that flame-colored hair even if I wanted to.
The person you saw entering the building wasn't the victim at all. Consider this. Ah! Obviously anybody can wear a wig. So the person that witnesses saw entering the building 15 minutes before the incident occurred could easily have been someone else entirely, wearing the red hairpiece.
Someone else? Do you mean to say?
It was the same person who contrived the firecracker trick. In other words, Inspector Gregson's killer. Pfft. Ha 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 ha. Oh, very impressive, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Kazuma? I'm really quite amazed you've come this far. But after all, wasn't I the one who told you that you had all the makings of a great defense lawyer? I also noted the lack of time of death in this report, a star commission. But as far as I'm concerned, this whole country's justice system leaves a lot to be desired. Okay. Order, order, order!
Prosecutor Asogi, what on earth do you mean by that statement?
I hear that many of the leading members of Britain's judiciary are present to observe this trial today. So we cannot allow even the slightest doubt to be overlooked. The defense's assertion about the time of death based on the victim's stopwatch is just conjecture. But, while the possibility exists that my learned friend may be correct, we have a duty to explore it.
Well, certainly. I would agree with you.
And what immediately comes to mind is, of course, what was Inspector Gregson doing and where did he go on the day before the incident? Do you know? The inspector always carried out his investigative work alone. His movements were treated as confidential within Scotland Yard.
Even within the yard?
However, considering the evidence we've been presented with so far, I'd say it's fairly apparent what case the man was pursuing, wouldn't you, my learned friend? I do have a feeling about what case he might have been investigating. Yes, I agree. Surely. My lord, the defense believes it can explain to the court the case that was being investigated by Inspector Gregson at the time of his death.
Very well, counsel. Present your argument to the court.
What evidence is suggestive of the case being investigated by the inspector on that day, the day prior? I assume we present that, but just checking whether it actually says it on the board. No. It doesn't say it on the board, so, this one. I believe this red hairpiece points to the answer, so it's probably we can present either of the two. We might assume it was part of a disguise used to carry out an undercover investigation.
Surely not. Such brightly colored hairpiece would only serve to make the inspector more noticeable.
Yes, that's quite true. It would definitely have made him stand out in a crowd. Except, that is, in a crowd of gentlemen from the Red-Headed League.
The Red-Headed League?
So, you'd already worked it out.
What on earth is this all about? Is there such an extraordinary league of gentlemen?
That's a book, isn't it? That's a reference. They can't work many pop culture references in when the story is like set this far in the past, but they managed it. The Red-Headed League is currently under investigation for grand deception.
A deception of what nature, counsel?
They've been targeting red-headed men all across London and tricking them out of small sums of money. 2 men were arrested for the misdemeanor only yesterday, in fact. My lord, the defense calls for those 2 men to be summoned at once.
2 redheads?
Inspector Gregson clearly infiltrated the Red-Headed League using this hairpiece, so it's very clearly that he had direct contact with these criminals. It's quite possible that such contact led to more serious events. Right, because they weren't arrested until the day after.
I concur that we cannot, in good conscience, leave this new avenue unexplored.
Well done, Mr. Naruhodo. Well, it's another possible line of inquiry for us, at least.
The prosecution will make immediate arrangements for the charged men to appear. Bring these 2 Red-Headed League conspirators before me, Prosecutor Asogi.
At once, my lord.
Very good. We will have a 30-minute recess. Court is adjourned.
Need a stretch. To be continued? To be continued! We're not going to end yet, though. We're going to do a bit of the... Maybe up until the next testimony? Perhaps. We'll see how long it goes. Big stretch. 2nd November, 12:33 p.m. The Old Bailey. Defendant's antechamber. Oh, there you are, Odo. What kept you, my dear fellow? Hello, Mr. Sholmes. Gina. You sure about what you said in there? The boss, actually died the day before? It's pretty hard to swallow. Yes, I was shocked by the revelation too, Gina. As was I. Possibly more shocked than both of you. It's not a competition, Mr. Sholmes. But I was more shocked than all of you put together. This is the autopsy report in question, is it? Yes, it's strange that there's no time of death noted. I suppose there's a simple explanation, or perhaps it was a deliberate omission. Oh dear, if it was deliberate, it puts me in the mind of the last case we worked on Dr. Scythe. I know. Anyway, it seems that on the day before Lord Van Zieks discovered his body, Inspector Gregson was investigating the Red-Headed League,
So perhaps something happened with them. Come to think of it, you had trouble with those League men didn't you, Mr. Sholmes? You were taken in by their trick. No. Naturally, I wasn't taken in, as you put it. My sleuthhound interest was merely piqued slightly by the rare scent of a weekly £4 income. And that scent masked the underlying scent of deception, I suppose. The two criminals in question are the pair we saw being arrested yesterday, aren't they? Oh no, I'm gonna have to do accents again. In Mr. Sholmes' suite, I mean. That's right, sirs, and it was me what took 'em in. Thanks to a tip-off by a good law-abiding citizen. Indeed, yours truly. So it's going to be that pair in the witness stand next, is it? Something doesn't quite make sense to me, though. The day before Inspector Gregson was found, you hadn't had trouble with the Red-Headed League yet, had you? Why would the inspector have been investigating them? Well, the likely explanation would be that Gregson's own sleuthhound interest was piqued by the rare scent of a weekly £4 income. Don't tar with the same brush as you, Sholmes. Yes, well. Then there's the whole issue of Inspector Gregson being investigated by Lord Van Zeeks for some reason. The Reaper, the Red-Headed League, Inspector Gregson, Lord Van Zeeks, and Kazuma. I feel as though he knew we'd arrive at this point somehow. Gosh, I think you're right. What's he really trying to achieve here today? The answers will soon be revealed. Observe the time, my dear fellow. The recess will be over shortly. Yes, you're right. Kazuma was determined that he should be the one to prosecute this trial. And he was determined that I should take the defense. Just what is it that he's hoping to make me see, I wonder? I get the feeling we're a long way from the end of this trial yet. Are you ready then, Mr. Sato? Yes. Oh, it's not even 12 and I'm already starting to feel tired again. I haven't been sleeping well all week. Today was the first time that I slept reasonably well because I knew I didn't have to get up early, so I didn't bother checking the time when I woke up and just try to like roll over and go back to bed. But then I forgot to turn my alarm off on Pokemon Sleep. So it was still like, 6:45, time to get up, get ready for work. But then I didn't get up until like 8:30. What is Van Zeeks doing in the stand? In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again. We resume the closed court hearing of Baroque Van Zeeks, here present, who stands accused of murder. Now then, Prosecutor Asogi. My lord. Have you summoned the witnesses as requested? Yes, the two members of the Red-Headed League who planned and carried out the deception. They arrived not long ago from the local prison by police carriage. Very good. Bailiff, usher the two men into the courtroom. Why is he eating pasta? These two men are currently being held by the police on suspicion of attempted extortion. You may omit your occupations, but state your names now for the court. I think this guy was French. That's a French name. I am Fabien de Rousseau. A descendant of the great Rousseau family from Nice in France. I get the feeling that his name probably translates to like... Is Rousseau red, maybe? And my name is Peppino da Rossi. Hold on, I gotta check this. Are their names just like
the translated terms for red. Oh no, it's apparently rouge is the French word for red. What about the Italian word for red? It is rosa or rosso. So it's close, but not one for one. Also fucking pepino spaghetti. I'm the third son of the great Familia de Rossi, the land and owners from Napoli. Is Napoli in... I don't know how to pronounce it. Is Napoli in Italy? Why is it bringing up a fucking football team when I Google it? Why is it... I searched Napoli and it's bringing up a fucking football player. Football team. Place. Okay, it's a city in... Oh, Naples. That's why. That's why it's bringing up the football team, because the actual place has a different name. God damn it. The two men first became acquainted at a boarding school for European nobility. Those who graduate from Temsic as the future leaders of Europe. But do you have any idea how boring it is to be born with noble blood? Alors, I make it my mission to get the better of the world by employing the little grey cells of my brain. That is all I am trying to do, huh? So, that's the only reason for this whole grand deception you've been carrying out? Oui, you could say that. Fucking, how does Italian sound again? Not bad, eh? He has the grand ideals, but the petty plans. This strange combination is the charm of the hilarious brothers. See, couple? Listen to me, Peppino. I have two things to say to you. Eh, che? You're about to tell me one of your grandi anecdotes? Evviva! Having to switch back and forth between accents so fucking fast is going to destroy my brain. Firstly, I want you to stop calling me this capo. And secondly, we are not the hilarious brothers. This is serious business. Che bello! There it is! The capo's trump card, the furrowed brow. It is deeper, capo. The furrow and the meaning of your words.
The court has been led to believe that under the banner of the Red-Headed League, you have conspired to swindle money from unsuspecting members of the public. Is this true?
Oui, c'est ça.
And what exactly was the nature of this deception by which you planned to defraud?
Alors, I will explain it. No, Capo, leave it to me. As you see, we both have the vivid red hair, no? At school, we were teased for this without pity. The Capo here. He was many times behind the schoolhouse, crying like the Trevi fountain. Those dogs! One day the world will respect us redheads. Every night, he would bury his head in the... Every night, he would bury his head in his pillow and weep for the injustice. C'est bien, Peppino. Enough. I will explain the rest. The first step was the newspaper advertisement.
About 1 week before the plan was put into operation, we listed the same notice in every paper in London.
Yes, we saw that notice. It was this one, I believe, entitled To the Red-Headed League.
Oui, c'est ça. I am honored that you have seen it.
Meanwhile, Peppino's gone back to eating spaghetti. It states that the only condition for joining the league is having flame-colored hair. And that if you satisfy the interview panel and are admitted into the league, you could receive a weekly income of £4. On the date specified, the red-headed hopefuls gathered in droves at a park specified in the advertisement. In the advertisement, whatever. Same word. And from each person present, this pair took an application fee of 5 shillings.
With the money to France. It was a plan most elegant, no?
No, it was most dishonorable.
But to be frank, I'm stunned anybody was foolish enough to be taken in by such an obvious trick. The park was described by one witness as choked with red-headed folk like a Costa's orange barrow.
I believe Shobs said that.
And on the day which all these men gathered to apply was the day before the victim was discovered. Crucially, these 2 men spoke face to face with every single person present that day. Oui, I have seen more red-headed people in one day than I have seen in the rest of my life. See, and now, every time I see the couple's hair, I feel sick in my stomach. Anyway, why have we been summoned here today?
Sorry?
The date for our trial was not until tomorrow, I was told.
Naturally, neither of these men have been told any details about this trial.
They have only been shown this photograph.
Very good. So, Mr. DeRusso and Mr. DeRossi, you will now give your formal testimony to the court on the subject of the gentleman pictured in this photograph.
Of course, we are always ready to help with the law.
Are you, though? You are criminals. So I think we'll do the first testimony, and then we'll probably end off. That'll probably take us to 3 hours, because I did start like 10 minutes late. The man in the photograph.
We had more than 1,000 red-headed people assemble in the park on Lime Street that day. But I don't recall the man in this photograph. A couple? No, I don't remember him. Obviously he is dead now, but I assure you he was not in the park. Allora, this victim has nothing to do with us. You have a lot to answer for, Sir Peppino. It is your fault that we got caught in the first place.
Why is that there?
You've given sworn testimony that the man in this photograph was not present. Can you be certain? Oui, I am quite certain. We did not interview this man. Nobody looking like this came to the park. This I can promise.
It must be noted that you have been arrested for grand deception, however. Accordingly, this court has little confidence in your assurances.
Uffa! With this attitude, we get nowhere, huh?
He's really sulking now.
This confidential document was obtained directly from Scotland Yard. It records an entry from the inspector's private diary dated the day before the incident. It reads, Lime Street Red-Headed League, undercover. Ah, I have the answer! Maybe there was another similar event in the park on the day in question, eh? That is ridiculous.
There's no question that Inspector Gregson was investigating the Red-Headed League, which means it's quite possible that that's when he was killed.
Very well. The defense may proceed with the cross-examination now.
Ah, yes, my lord. So we do have confirmation that Gregson was in fact there. But these two claim to not have seen him.
Hold it!
1,000 people? That's a very big crowd. It was quite the spectacle. Redheads had come from all over the capital. See, the capo here. He has the magnetismo animale, eh? Nobody else could attract so many people. If I could be born again, I would be the capo. All those people wanted was the money, Peppino. The £4 per week.
Are you suggesting that you spoke personally with all 1,000 applicants?
Oui, that we did. Because every one of them paid us 5 shillings. We take their names and we take their money. And we take their address as well. Then I tell them we take it some days and let them know by a post, finito. Maybe 2 minutes a person? We start early in the morning and we stop late in the night. So you earned 5,000 shillings in one day? That's a small fortune. I don't know how much a shilling is. I'm not British. Who'd have thought there were 1,000 such gullible redheads in London to start with? One of whom was a great detective with chemically altered hair. Don't recall the man in the photograph. He doesn't look at all familiar. No, I don't think so. And this is a wig, eh? He was trying to trick us. I do not like the people who are trying to trick the other people. Says the con artist. If between them they interviewed 1,000 people with red hair, it would be unreasonable to expect them to remember every face. No, senor. I may be small, but my memory is very large. I never forget a thing. In my opinion, I do not think this man was in the park. But he's not going to give the court a definitive, it seems. Eh, Capo, you didn't see a man like this, huh? Don't remember him, and obviously he's dead now, but I assure you he was not in the park. Are you sure about that? But according to what you've said, you spoke with 1,000 or more people that day. Oui, that's true. My eyes were burning by the end of the day. Surely then you can't actually remember every single face. How are you so certain that this particular man wasn't present? Normally the red hair is very distinctive, eh? But not when you have 1,000 redheads crowding around. Then it's just an eyesore. But if there was some other information you could give us, then maybe we could recall. That is not the line, Peppino. Remember, we don't remember him. We are sure of that fact, huh? If there was a man with a red hairpiece but his mustache did not match the color, then I do not think I could have forgotten him. Cosima said these two had only been shown that photograph, and they'd been told nothing else at all. But what if I fed them just one other detail about the victim, for example, his fish and chips? I would say his name, because they said they took the names of all the people who applied. I can certainly appreciate that just knowing the man had red hair wouldn't help you remember this situation. But what if I told you that the man's name was Gregson? Oh wait, no, he was undercover. He wouldn't have told them. The man in the photograph is a Monsieur Gregson? Yes. Names, they are boring. I did not listen to any of them. Oh. It was not a real interview, huh? It was just for a show. Why would I remember the names? That's right, this changes nothing. The man in the photograph was not there, as we've already said. I see.
Seems there's little to be gained from pursuing this point further.
Tell them again what you said before, Peppino. Si, capo, si. I say it again and again.
We'll press this again, and then...
Hold it!
If he was a detective, he wouldn't... If he was undercover, he wouldn't have told them he's a detective. So let's... Maybe it is the fish and chips. Like, this man was always eating fish and chips. Did you see any redheads eating fish and chips? I can certainly appreciate that just knowing the man had red hair wouldn't help you remember his situation. In this situation. But what if I told you that the man was always munching on a packet of fish and chips? Do you remember a man who was eating incessantly? Not really. I was only looking at the ends of the applicants. I wouldn't have noticed the fish and chips more than the caviar and smoked salmon. Or spaghetti! Me, I love the spaghetti. Really, I had no idea. Dang it. Okay, so then maybe they did realize he was a detective. And that's why they're not talking about it. Because, like, he wouldn't have told them he's a detective, but maybe they noticed it on their own. Come on. I can certainly appreciate just knowing that just knowing the man had red hair wouldn't help you remember in this situation. But what if I told you that the man in the red hairpiece was actually a detective? The man in the photograph, a detective? Yes. It would appear he found your notice in the paper suspicious and decided to investigate incognito. Sorry, but this changes nothing. Except it does.
Excuse me.
Lol. Something to add, Mr. De Rossi? Che, see? I am always adding something. Parmesan, olive oil, pepper. What I mean is, did you not agree with your friend's last remark by any chance? What did he just say? About the detective? Yes, that. Keep your mouth shut, Peppino. You have said enough already. But why, Capo? What is the problem? There was a man who said, I am an inspector from Scotland Yard. What? Good lord. He's on a box. Order! 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 Explain this volte-face in your testimony, witness. It's simple. A man who was at the park... A man who was at the park told us that he was an inspector. There was no such man. My die! What are you saying, Capo? Have you forgotten, eh? I have forgotten nothing. Nobody like this came to the park. Basta, Capo, basta! You beat me at the many things, but not two. The memory and the meals. Like I said, when it's time to eat the pasta, no one is a faster. But you are inferior to me in every other way. So shut up. Top Dad, the damage is done. Indeed it is, sir. There was a man who came to the park and said he was an inspector from Scotland Yard. However, he looked nothing like the man in the photograph. It was someone else. How can you be so sure? Because, to start with, his face was completely different. See, it's true, it's true. The man who came was a younger. And his face was a clean shaven, and his eyes were sadder. His chin was thinner. No resemblance whatsoever, then.
Anyway, I was not going to be fooled. I took the obvious precaution and said to him, "If you are really a detective, show us the proof." See, the capo here, he doesn't take no nonsense, eh? But he was well prepared. He said he had identification. Identification? You mean official police inspector's identification?
That is most unconvincing.
Sorry, my lord?
Counsel, no incognito inspector would offer his identification for inspection. It's quite out of the question.
Very true.
Definitely. Why would he expose his true identity?
Clearly the papers were fake. Certo, capo, you're a genius. As we say in the Italia, the thief, it takes a thief to recognize another, eh?
And what happened after he announced that he was a detective?
It became very annoying. He said, "You are under investigation." So I took his papers from him and chased him out of the park. It was fantastico. And look, here is the identification.
So you stole it from the man?
He had it coming. He made us very scared. But he was not who he said he was.
Indeed, the person described does not appear to have behaved as a true inspector would. However, I believe it would be prudent for these identification papers to be entered into evidence.
But I like them. Identification of a man claiming to be a detective inspector confiscated by Mr. DeRusso and Mr. De Rossi.
Now, let us return to the witness's testimony.
But first, allow me to investigate this. Okay, if you say so. Well, I suppose we should see what this inspector's identification looks like inside. I cannot read that. Yes, it definitely looks fake, doesn't it? Out of interest, what name is given? Probably just something plucked. It's gonna be the... Oh no! Probably just something plucked out of the air. It's Tobias Gregson. Wait, what? This is Scotland Yard's insignia. It looks genuine to me. But how? And the department and identification number details are all correct as well. Since when have you known those? Do you mean to say... I know it seems incredible, but yes. I think this is a genuine identification book issued by Scotland Yard. But that's unbelievable. This is the real thing after all. Well then. Good to know. Alola, this victim has nothing to do with us. Which do we present it on? He was not in the park, probably here.
Objection.
Are you sure about that? I wonder if I could ask you to examine this identification book very closely. Miss Lestrade?
Why Miss Lestrade? What is your intention here, counsel?
Is this really a fake or is it genuine? That's the question. Which we can't answer ourselves. Don't be ridiculous. No Scotland Yard detective would allow his or her identification to be stolen. That is the boss's. No question about it. Oh boy, more accents. As I suspected. The undercover detective who attended the Red-Headed League's enrollment on the day in question was the real Inspector Gregson, carrying out an incognito investigation. Zut alors! He's on the floor. Order! Order! But if the boss had his identification stolen, he would have reported it straight away. I mean, he was always on at me about it. He was always on at me about it. If you lose something, report it at once, he'd say. Could it be then that the inspector was physically unable to report it? Because he was already dead. Physically? Eh? What are you saying?
Unable to... You're not suggesting...
Yes, it's quite possible that he was killed before he had a chance to report his identification stolen. No! Order! Order! The defense posits that the victim was killed the day before his body was discovered at a different location. Do you two have anything to say about that? I know nothing. I done nothing. Pull yourself together, Peppino. Mon Dieu, can you behave a little more like a master criminal than that, no? Now I wish I had to return to Italia. Stop crying, Peppino, please. Otherwise, Lamy? I don't know how to pronounce that. Stop your whine and start talking.
Well, I believe the court will need to hear your story in considerably greater detail.
I know nothing. I know nothing.
But you will tell everything, or face the worst possible outcome. You will dry your eyes and testify again. About these identification papers, and the precise circumstances under which you came by them.
For crying out loud. Alright, that seems like a good stopping off point. As soon as it will let me. Save the game. We'll do it here. Always save twice. There we go. That will be all for today's stream. It does feel weird leaving off in the middle of like a court case, but like that's the best stopping off point I had. I don't want to go super long. I do still have other stuff to do today. As I mentioned at the start of the stream, I need to draw a comic strip, which I don't currently have any ideas for, so that's just, you know, that's great. Anyway, next stream will be tomorrow, and I don't know what we'll be doing. I would like to make it not be Ace Attorney, just so I'm not doing 3 Ace Attorney streams in a row, but I don't know what exactly we're gonna do. Actually, hold on. When does the... Oh man, we've only got like... Can I open my calendar, please? Well, not counting this week, we've got 1, 2, 3 more weeks left before the new Famicom Detective Club game comes out. And I still need to play the previous one before then. Maybe we will just play more Ace Attorney so we can get through this and then start the next... So we can just zoom through Ace Attorney so we can get to Famicom Detective Club and then hopefully finish that before MEO comes out. Oh man. And then the month after it's more Ace Attorney. Depending on how long MEO takes, I'll just have to find something else. I'll probably have to find something else to fill in anyway, because I don't want to stream the first Miles Edgeworth game, since I've played that myself. But I do want to stream the second one. Yeah. Should I put it on this screen as well? I don't think I'm going to put it on this screen. But if you want to join Clueless Quiz Time, just let me know. Reach out on Twitter, or I guess in the YouTube comments if you really want. But yeah, I will try to find a quiz topic other than Ace Attorney so that I can try and... once I get it off the ground, I can point to
I can point to my first show and go like, hey, this is what you're in for. Doesn't this look fun? Don't you want to participate? But right now it's just sort of like, trust me, bro. Trust me, I'm sure it'll be fun. Anyway. Let's have a look at who's online. Ah, perfect. Miko's still streaming. In that case... Mahikan... Miko... I know I raid Miko a lot, but like... We're friends. Of course I'm gonna be raiding Miko when I can. Which is a lot of the time, because we like stream at the same time, but I don't stream as long as she does. Yeah, Miko is currently playing Hollow Knight. If that sounds interesting to you, feel free to stick around for the raid. The raid messages are in chat if you want to. Oh, I just noticed. Even though it doesn't show in chat stream elements posting the actual, like showing what the emote is, because stream elements isn't sub to me, on my chat widget it does show the actual emote. That's interesting. Anyway, next stream will be tomorrow. Don't know what we're going to be streaming, but we will stream something. I'm thinking, like, now that I know how close Emio is, I may just do like nothing but Ace Attorney until it's over so we can get to Famicom Detective Club. Anyway, that's all from me. Thanks for watching. Otsukame. Bye bye. And scene.